Pete,
Good afternoon, Sam.
You survived the 24 hours after the British public have voted for Brexit.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. Like a lot of people now, I'm kind of sad that it came to this.
So it's obviously it's a very uncertain time. We're hearing lots of there's this. I don't know if you've seen the petition to undo the bad.
I just love it.
Yeah.
Don't you love their idea of democracy? We will keep voting until we vote the right way.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, I admire anyone with passion, but
We should have heard my mother this morning. Oh, the racists have won and all this kind of stuff. In the end, there was business people. I think we've got and it's still very raw, and it is a bit of a shock, more than a bit.
Yeah.
But essentially, we've got to take a bit of the passion out, a bit of the drama out of it, and actually say, look, what's the consequences, and more importantly, what are
the opportunities? That's what we want to talk about today. Is the fact that I am seeing a lot of negative news, or a lot of the potential impact and the current impact on big businesses and on the individual. Talking about immigration. What I'm not seeing a lot of, which is really interesting, but we're really sort of missing out on a huge demographic there. Is the impact that this is going to have, or the opportunity that this could present for owner-managed businesses and the SME community,
which is the engine of the economy.
Exactly, yeah. So my question to you is it all doom and gloom? Should everyone pack up the bags and go somewhere else? Or is there an opportunity to be exploited here for all?
I think we had a phrase we were talking about earlier. It's keep calm, carry on, and exploit the opportunities. So I think that's the first thing, is just to step back and think about it. I was with some entrepreneurs yesterday, digital agency, some finance guys, and that's what they were talking about. They got their head in the right space already. I was still sad about all this stuff, and they were like bang, right in there looking at. And I think that's what we've got to kind of do. In the end, if it does happen, if this petition doesn't work, it's going to take 2 years to flow through. So we're going to have to get used to a lot of the scratchiness and touching of all these negotiations that are going to happen, a little bit of uncertainty, and we just got to plough on regardless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just had a question actually.
Hey,
so
hey, that's not fair. I haven't got.
I'm prepared for that. So the question that we got through is what type of businesses do we think we're going to get benefit? Is this gonna benefit all businesses, or is it a particular sector that
I mean, there'll be one or two that really get hurt, but fundamentally, most owner-managed businesses will not notice. Yeah. Essentially, unless you're exporting, importing, the base level, you're not going to notice. Right. Where we will feel it is if the economy slides as a result of this. Right, okay, I mean, that's when we all get... Because in the end, everybody flourishes better if there's a benign economy or even a benevolent one. So if the economy can keep going, generally the macro economy, then the micro level, i.e. owner-managed businesses individually, should come through it and carry on doing what they're doing, thriving, sort of investing, innovating, and just growing.
Yeah, which I think is hugely important to keep in mind at this time. It's very easy to get swamped up with the
politics of it, the emotion of it, the cultural aspects of it. Well, we're here to talk about business. So essentially, if you look at it, let's take the economy then. So George Osborne, he threatened an austerity budget, a bit of a naughty thing to do, and in the end, it ain't going to happen. He will end up investing. It'll be an investment budget. He's a Tory. They want to be back in power in a few years' time. They certainly don't want Jeremy Corbyn in power, so he'll do what it takes. And part of that will be ensuring the economy carries on doing well. There's nothing in it for them to let it drift. So I think you'll see an investment-based budget, probably around housing, I suspect. Building. Right, okay. I suspect around building. So I think that sector might end up doing well. But even the regions, they've got a hell of a kick in. In the regions, in England particularly, and Wales, particularly strong for out, and I think they'll things like the Northern Powerhouse will get a real push, because I'm one of these guys that when it came out I was like, well, not a bad idea, and then got a bit cynical because I wasn't convinced they were putting the money in, and they weren't talking enough to the right people, I think, and but now I suspect it's going to get the resources pushed into it to make sure it delivers. Yeah,
which opens up that is an opportunity to be exploited there. That's a positive coming through it.
So that's the economy, and then I think the Bank of England's going to be there as well. I mean, it's not just George Osborne. George Osborne, the Chancellor, will need to see the economy. That's his job. But we're lucky to have one of the world's best central bankers. He's funny enough for all the foreign haters. He's a Canadian.
I was watching it with my mum, and she was like, "I swear he's American."
He'd be offended. She's just offended. I don't know.
Yeah. You don't. That's somebody you don't want to offend at the moment. He's gonna help us.
Yeah. Well, he stands ready to flood the markets with the cash, the financial markets with the cash they need to keep going. It's not going to be a liquidity crisis like Lehman Brothers was, but he's ready, and he'll drop interest rates if needed, and that will end up helping the banks, and it will filter through to SMEs and owner managers. The truth is, after the last crash, they pumped the liquidity into the market, and it took years to come through to the owner managers. I would say it's the last couple of years it's got much better, and if you go out now looking for money as an owner managed business, it's there on trees almost. It's the banks are ready, but we've got this really sophisticated and developing fintech market, these financial online providers of money, some great sort of companies out there doing all kinds of wonderful things. So the access to money is good already, and I think as they open up the money taps, if they need to combat any downturn, then we're going to see even more opportunities to borrow more money and access to more money at cheaper prices. And so that is an opportunity. Your favourite word of the day.
Exactly. No, that is a huge opportunity, and that's really promising. That's got.
So that's if the economy stumbles. Yeah. Let's hope it doesn't.
So. Someone I'm feeling very sorry for at the moment is Mr. Sterling, the pound, that seems to have it's not feeling very well at the moment. It seems so. How is that gonna? That's got to have some impact on.
Well, I mean, if you're an owner managed business out there exporting, you don't mean me to tell you that this is the time to make hay. I mean, literally against the euro and the dollar, we're down 5 to 10%, which means you everything you do out there is cheaper by 5 to 10%. So go out and grab your increased share of the market.
So that's a massive opportunity.
It is a huge opportunity for those who are thinking about exporting. Go out and it's worth looking at. UKTI, that's another area that the government's going to chuck loads of money at to stimulate this international trade, because it's going to be a bit interesting. So for exports, that's good. For people who are exporting and their main markets are to Europe, it's going to get scratchy-tetchy again over the next couple of years. It's going to be tough because all those negotiations, it's going to be messy, and they won't really want to deal with you. The uncertainty, not great. But if you're an exporter elsewhere around the world, and this is interesting. I know we're talking about owner-managed businesses, but let's talk about Rolls-Royce, a massive business. Their shares went up because they are an exporter of capital goods, and those capital goods are now 5 to 10% cheaper. Their main competitors are American, and that's great. So Rolls-Royce engines, it's doing well. If you look hard enough, you tend to find a silver lining. You don't look hard at the minute, but
No. Well, it's hard to, because you've got all this. An interesting question just come through is: are we going to get more or less foreign investment? Because that's on the same sort of lines, isn't it? But that's a good. Because that is something that's really people have been talking about.
So I think what you'll see, I don't think we've always been seen as a gateway to Europe.
Yes.
So a lot of Chinese investment, Indian investment is using this as a gateway to Europe. And that is going to be tough. The government's going to have to work really, really hard to support the regions to keep attracting that kind of money in. We are well-known rule of law. We've got all kinds of things going for us that attracts inward investment. From an owner-manager's point of view, smaller scale businesses, so not glamour construction projects like airports and what have you, they won't notice that inward investment dry up particularly. And funny enough, I was talking to, not initially anyway, over time they would, but I was talking to corporate finance guys yesterday in a private equity house. Yeah, there was this really weird quirk on this. Their take was mergers and acquisitions, which is a form of investment across border, is going to sort of jump up. They think a lot of deals will be dragged forward because of the possible deals, because of the uncertainty out there, so they want to do these deals now, wrap them up. But this was really interesting. This corporate finance house think that owner-managed businesses are going to see a bit of a lot of interest from European buyers, because in the past they've just traded with us, and as the barriers go up, or they think the barriers are going to go up, these European, German, French, Italian companies, if they want to trade in the UK, one of the easy ways is to come and buy a company here. So they were actually very positive that if you're an owner-managed business, you might see, looking for sale in a couple of years, you might well see some of these overseas companies making a bid on you.
Okay, so that's a great.
That's another opportunity.
And an impulse to sell.
If you were looking at the negatives on it, my big one, because we talked about the currency side, you got so export's going to be are going to be cheaper, so that's great. It makes you more competitive. Imports going to get dearer. So and at first flushes that seems bad because that stokes inflation. But we've been in this weird disinflationary environment since the crash, and in some parts of the world they're in deflation, like Japan. It's not a great place to be, and so a little bit of pricing power might not go amiss. I mean, this is me talking as an accountant. I'm not being funny. If inflation expectations as a result of the currency fall are up, if people think prices are going up, then you as a business are going to find it easier to raise your prices. You're going to get a bit of pricing power back. And in a lot of markets, they've lost that. It's not been there. So that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, that is.
So there's an opportunity on the downside of all that currency stuff is that our current deficit is funded. We rely on the kindness of strangers and foreigners to fund our extravagances, and they're going to be less likely. They're not going to be as happy with us having turned our back on foreigners. That's my fear if I'm looking at it. But from an operational level, owner-managed business level, if you're exporting, it's great. If you're importing, it's not great. But the raising inflation expectations might help you get some pricing power. The government's going to stand behind the economy, and like it hasn't done for a few years, and really push to make sure it stabilises. And the Bank of England's there ready to chuck money about if it needs to be, which should filter through to us in terms of being able to access cash.
Yeah, which is great. Just an interesting thing you said there, actually, sort of that I was thinking of, and sort of like, do you think that the rest of Europe is going to see this as us turning our back on them?
Yeah.
Because do you think that sort of, I think they'll take it that way?
Yeah, and I think the mess is going to compound. I think we've got the Scottish issue, we've got the Northern Ireland. We've talked about Northern Ireland. There's a lot of issues that are going to come out of constitutional issues. We've opened a real Pandora's box, and once you can't put it, these people won't have another revote. I mean, you can't put the lid. It won't go back in. The genie's out that bottle.
Well, I think Juncker said that it wasn't a very a tight affair anyway. I think is what he said.
Is that what he reckons?
He said we want you to, we want this to be.
You got to remember he's a heavy drinker. I shouldn't say that, but hey, we're done. Overall, it's like a lot of these things. You got to sort of take the passion out, take the drama out, sit down, think about the opportunity for you, and maybe the consequences too. I can't see many immediate consequences for the ordinary managed business. No. I just can't see that. No. But I do see some opportunities down the track. I think longer term, if we don't sort out the investment issue of the foreign capital, then there'll be bigger economic issues that we've got to face. But right now, I have faith.
Well, that's great. I mean, you've proven that there is, there's definitely some ideas for sort of, owner-managed businesses to sort of take into account and to exploit the opportunity to not. It's business as usual, but there are areas where you can actually use this to your advantage. Yeah. Great.
So keep calm.
Keep calm.
Carry on.
And exploit the opportunity. That's Brexit for owner-managed